I just want to enter into your core message for this chapter and why, like, why it's your core message, right? It's
Yeah,
like you're not just writing a chapter in a collection. You're
right.
writing this particular chapter for a really big reason. Like this is your core message
Yeah,
throughout the work you do with people. And I think it's been your core message trying to figure yourself out over the years, if you're like most
1000%.
experts. So tell me a little bit about your core message.
Yes, and you're 100% right. It, I didn't start out with this core message of come to the conversation curious. What I've learned over the many decades I've been on this earth, and now the almost 10 years where I've been with my practice of helping people understand their money story, is it really does come down to what is your curiosity and how do we manifest that curiosity in learning about yourself personally. Of course, it's the internal curiosity, and then of course the external to how you operate in the world, what your relationships are. it, and it always goes back to that. I was thinking about this morning, that I generally, in the past, more often than not, then, not now, I operated from fear. Well, if I had reframed that and said, okay, well, what about being curious? Before you get afraid, before you go, oh my God, it's a lion, alert the media and run for your life, be a little curious first. I had never thought of it that way. Um, the whole we have these internal narratives that we are so quick to use. It is staggering. I mean, Mario Andretti for all of us in our how we assume our own narrative. Well, again, stopping it and saying, okay, let me just be curious about something first. In today's world where we are making assumptions about what other people think and how other people feel, especially if you've been married for decades, you're like, I already know what he thinks. I know what he's going to say. It is amazing when you come at that conversation to say, so I'm just curious, what is behind that conversation? So, Anne, you and I were just talking about a new client and about learning about her money story. And she's a brand new client, so I don't know that much yet. But one of the very first things that came out was her spending and the conflict that she has with her husband. And she was saying how every time a package comes in, she now hides the packages so her husband doesn't see them. So I asked her, have you gone to him and said, tell me what happens to you when you see the package? What are you feeling? What do you experience? I want to understand what is going on for you. That's a curiosity versus I have to now go hide this package because I know he's going to freak out. Well, what's behind that? And then it evokes empathy or understanding or a dialogue, whatever it be. There's going to be a ripple effect from that conversation. And honestly, if there's nothing else, I have seen it over and over and over and over again with many clients. Just having asked that question to your partner, again, personally or professionally, what's going on for you? You literally watch the other person's shoulders come down and the appreciation of being heard, being seen, and that you matter. Something else that I say on a daily basis.
Yeah, I want to drive a point home that I wish we had captured too, because you're explaining this set up to me, and the first thing I offered was a way to fix it so she could spend less money, a fix, and which is the antithesis of what we're discussing here. You're not recommending fixes to people who are coming in and talking about their finances. You are asking the deeper questions
Yes,
because it's not about what they're doing. It is about what they're doing, but it's about what's underneath what what they're doing.
right.
That's and that was just the most dramatic example in my mind of witnessing what it is to not try to fix, but to instead explore
Right.
because
There
it's
will be a
too much.
time for a fix. There
Yeah.
will be a time for a fix. Uh, this is one of the things, and I write this in the chapter. This is about the journey and the destination, not one or the other. So, in order to determine what the destination is, and in this case, let's use what the fix is, what's the journey that leads you to that? And there's the curiosity, right? One of what I talk about, Anne, as you know, is I deal with people and their money stories, which are as unique as our fingerprints. Right? Everybody has their own money story. Somebody said to me, I have my mother's money story. I said, no, 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 no. You have your money story. Your mother's money story is an imprint on it. It may be a piece in the puzzle, but it is still your money story. You need to learn that and how that moves on with your life, and what does that look like, and how has it served you, and how has it not served you. And so that's the exploration. And again, since so many of us were taught to not talk about money, the idea of being curious about it is even a farther fetch. So part of the other piece about being curious is there is it's not, I would say it's not scary, it's not intimidating, right? One of the things I say with a new client all the time is we're going to be curious in this safe sacred space. And when you apply both of those, safety, curiosity, your own story, taking judgment off the table, taking shame off the table. My gosh, literally every client has said, I feel guilty, I feel shame. I'm like, okay, we are totally removing those items. Again, by learning what's behind all this, what's the root of it, and then building it back up.
God, that's vital work.
It's, it is, I am blessed. I am blessed that I figured this out. Um, it took me 60 years to figure it out and to get here. But I've been doing, I know, as I always laugh, because I say I was my first client. I did this work on myself 20 years ago. And for 20 years, I have been learning more and more about my money story and how it impacts me. And now you're at the wonderful juncture. I've been at the wonderful juncture now for 20 years of intersecting your money story with your values and getting that Venn diagram of what's important to you, what's your money story, what's happening in the world, and that secret nugget where really you can say money represents who I am as an individual. The question for me is not can I afford it, but how is it important to me and how does it mirror and reflect who I am? That's where the clarity and the peace of mind come. The fact that people are willing to talk to me about something that they have held in for so long. Here's the other thing I hear from every single client. I've never told anybody this before. So think about how strong that is. And I am not talking to people who are 10 years old, right? So it is, I'm blessed.
It's like
I
being a,
really am
it's like you're
blessed.
you're like a sex therapist. If you think
Well,
about it,
it's
it's
funny
just,
because people call me a financial therapist. So it's very funny that you say that, you know,
yeah.
and and there is beauty in being in creating an environment where people can trust and really explore their inner feelings over something that has been so taboo. I laugh all the time. I talk about money and death, the two things that we're taught not to talk about.
Mhm. Yeah. W- When this opportunity arose for you to contribute a chapter to
Oh,
a collection, a wisdom collection, why did you decide that this was a time to share this message? What made you think, okay, I'm going to do this?
okay, well, we could be very flippant and say divine intervention, but let's move beyond that as well, because it's an and. Like I always say, it's an and, not an or. The opportunity to spread this message, now that I have been doing this work as a profession for 9 years and seeing the dramatic impact it has in groups that I've worked with, and individuals and couples and families and presentations and seminars, that aha moment, that is what compelled me to be part of this book. In addition to the other authors and their messages, which are so on point and so relevant, it seemed like the perfect alignment of those of us who have been out there doing something perhaps differently, where it is not an easy, oh, you're a this, name the profession, but it's a little different and a little more complex, it was perfect timing. And again, and you and I have talked about this. I'm doing this work really from a how can I be of service to the world? And this is my little niche that I've decided this is going to speak to me. All of the experience that I've had in my life, my Wall Street experience, my marketing experience, my customer service experience, the own work I've done on myself. This was the perfect time. Now that I can say I have almost 10 years of data to prove that there's something here, now it's time to share it to the world.
Yeah, and let's play with the divine timing thing.
Absolutely.
I love the divine timing.
I do too.
I because I do think there's a divine timing. I you know, I'm biased because I've seen everything that is in this book. I know the the wisdom through across these chapters, and I know how beautiful and valuable and meaningful this book is.
Mhm.
I have that perspective.
Yeah.
But I also look around and I think we need this right now. I think we're afraid as a society. I think we're so gripped in fear and polarization, and we've forgotten that there's so much wisdom to be had, by
Hmm.
just leaning over and talking to the person next to you, or talking to somebody that you would never have a chance to talk to, just that you run into as if by luck, or just sheer luck to have
Hmm.
those intimate conversations. Do you feel like the timing is right for your message too, and for the other messages that you've heard about as well?
Absolutely. And let's go back to exactly this. So, what's happening right now? We study after study shows that we need community more than ever. We need to figure out how to be as non-divisive, if you will, as possible. We need to listen to each other. We need to see each other. I definitely have a point of view on probably almost everything, right? Again, coming to the conversation curious forces me to say, somebody else has just a strong opinion. Listen to that, right? And you look at all of the other authors, and they're coming at this. This is a source of, I would say, a glorious buffet of food for thought, right? Nobody's telling you you have to do this or you must do that, or in order to succeed, if you don't do this, forget about it. This is what has helped us. For some people, this is what also helped their clients. And think about it. Think if this resonates with you. Think if this can help you explore where we are right now, which is a period of huge uncertainty, which leads me to one of my other favorite things is Dr. DeGrange, a neuropsychologist, says that the human brain is physically allergic to uncertainty. And the solution is not certainty. The solution is really learning to trust yourself and really learning to hone your instincts. Well, how do you do that? Right? There are methodologies to do that. This book is going to be yet another methodology to try to gain more internal knowledge to help you face the massive amount of uncertainty we have in our lives, right? And the fear. Again, I go back to there are ways to combat fear. Trust me, I promise you, there are, right? Will you be able to solve everything? No. There can be the and versus the or. You can look at what are alternative practices that I can incorporate in addition to how I'm living my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. You're already living this message and you've built a platform, I would say, around this message. You have a business around it, you have a platform.
Yes.
How are you using this message on a daily basis? How, like, what does it look like out in the world with Emily and her message?
Uh, I will say there needs to be some consciousness about it, right? Because left to our own devices, we can very easily go back to old habits, right? And I talk a lot about there's your first thought. I mean, my gosh, I'm, about to be 69 years old. I promise you, my first instinct is really very, very fine-tuned. That element of curiosity allows you to take a breath and incorporate an immediate second thought, which I've now done for 20 years, and it's much easier. I think about when I'm collaborating with financial advisors or lawyers or even with my talking to my clients, being able to come to that conversation curious and not go into a place of I've already done this, I already know how to do this, I'm already going to assume this. It is absolutely 100% differential when I come going, I am really here, I am very present, and I want to hear you and I want to see you. When I am dealing with adversarial individuals, let us say, as a former Wall Street trader, I will go toe to toe with most people coming to the conversation curious says you don't have to do that. You can just listen. You don't have to adopt what they think, but you get to listen. And by the way, there's beauty in that, and you're going to learn something. The nonprofit work that I do, the philanthropic world, the volunteering, there is another side to the story. There are other people who come with their own with not just their money story, but with their own personality. And how do you work within that? Families that I talk to all the time, I said, you all have your own money story. Just because you're in the same family doesn't mean you have the same money story. You have your individual traits that match up to it. So how do you open up that dialogue? It is really, I go back to the things that I say all day long multiple times a day. Come to the conversation curious, understand your narrative, recognize that people want to be seen, people want to be heard, and people want to matter. And the other great thing about this is I usually say three buckets, and you've heard me say this multiple times. There's the bucket that you know what you know. There's the bucket of you think you know what you don't know. And then there's the bucket of you don't know what you don't know. And as a lifelong learner, I will say that bucket, that number three, gets bigger by the day. So allowing yourself to learn more, which curiosity certainly will do, keeps you moving forward and finding those aha moments or those moments of clarity or peace of mind that really help, especially now when you have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear that you are surrounded by. As a very personal example, I have horrible bag lady syndrome, the fear of being old and financially unable to take care of myself when I'm out on the street. If I wasn't aware of my money story and how it impacts how I think and feel, if I wasn't curious about that, if I wasn't curious about what can experts and other people tell me, I am telling you, we would not be having this conversation. I would not have written a chapter. I would be under the bed in a fetal position.
Mhm.
And I'm quite serious about that. I know it sounds funny, but I would not be able to operate. So when I say that there can be peace of mind and clarity, now am I responsible? Am I going to be able to be responsible and dictate and predict what the markets will do, what the economies of the world are going to do, what our world leaders are going to do? Not at all. But I'm creating environments where I can continue moving forward and being a member of society without being a overly burdensome member of society.